Hey guys, Caroline here. So today I want to talk about life purpose in astrology as relates to the placement of your sun in the houses. Okay, so if you don't already know which house your sun is in, if you don't have your birth chart yet, you can go to astro.com. I'm including a link below in the description where you can type in your birth information and get your birth chart. Okay, to know the layout of the houses in your chart, it is essential that you have an accurate birth time, since the birth time determines the rising sign, which determines the layout of the houses. Okay, so if you don't have your birth time, it should be on your birth certificate, but very important that you have an accurate birth time to see the houses. Okay, also I will be posting timestamps below if you want to just go ahead and jump to the house placement of your sun. So sun in the houses, if you have your sun in the first house, the first house is naturally ruled by Aries and the planet Mars. Okay, the first house is very much about your personality, your self, how you define yourself, who you are, all about self development. It also governs the physical body and your physical appearance. So, with your sun in the first house, you are very interested in personal development. That will probably be a major focus of your life, is just developing your personality, your ego. It's a lifetime of self-discovery. What defines personality? Okay, you may be a natural psychologist. You may be very interested in how one defines oneself. Okay, part of your role is to be a teacher or a role model or a coach. You are presenting yourself to the world through example. Okay, so you could be a life coach. Again, you could be a counselor. You could be an actor or an artist, somehow presenting yourself to the world as an example. Okay, because it also rules the physical body. You may be interested in physical training. You may be a physical trainer. You may do some kind of career work related to the physical body. All right. Sun in the second house. The second house is naturally ruled by Taurus and the planet Venus. The second house is all about material possessions. It is about work. It is about how we generate income. It is about personal values and self-worth. Okay, so with the sun in the second house, these are themes that will be very interesting to you, that you'll be focusing on over your lifetime. So for you, professional status may be very important to you. Titles may be very important to you. Accumulating wealth so that you can buy the house that you want, the car that you want. You may be very motivated by accumulating things to provide safety and security for yourself, right? Because Taurus really cares about having comfort and stability and enjoying the pleasures of life, the sensory pleasures, right? So as the ruler of this house and having your sun in this house, those are things going to be very interesting to you, right? You may be an appreciator of the arts, you may be an appreciator of fine wine and food, you may be a connoisseur. You may be a chef, or you may be a wine sommelier, or something of that nature having to do with enjoying the finer things in life. This could make you an artist, or you may just be very, very driven in your career in order to make money so that you can live the good life, right? Work hard, play hard. So, third house, sun in the third house. Third house is ruled by Gemini and the planet Mercury. So the third house is all about the intellect. It is about the mind, how we process and analyze information. It is also about how we communicate effectively, how we share ideas, how we bring information, pool information from all these different ranges and areas of life together to create a common theme, right? This is all Gemini themes. So with your sun in the third house, you may be a writer. You are very intellectual. You love learning. You may be a perpetual student of life. Okay. You may become an expert in a certain field, very, very intellectually focused, as well as a lot of emphasis on communication. So again, writing, publishing, public speaking, teaching, presenting your ideas or information, or presenting your mind in some way. You may be a psychoanalyst. Again, you may be very interested in the mind, how the mind functions. Okay, with this placement, there can be a tendency towards mental anxiety because this is such a heavy intellectual mind-based house. With your sun in that house, you have to be more aware and careful of grounding yourself a little bit more in the body, okay? But being a writer, teacher, public speaker, having some kind of focus on communication, emphasis on communication might be important to you, okay? Fourth house, sun in the fourth house. The fourth house is traditionally ruled by Cancer and the moon. The fourth house has to do with your foundations. It has to do with ancestry, where you came from, early childhood. It is the house of the mother, of femininity, of maternal nature. It rules the home and family. So with your sun in this house, it also rules real estate. So with your sun in this house, you may be very interested in early childhood development. You may be a historian. You may be interested in ancestry and learning about your roots. You may be a real estate agent. You may be an interior decorator. Your life purpose may just be about spending a lot of time with your home and your family, and maybe your career is just something that you do in order to give you the free time and the freedom that you want to have time with family, because family is very important to you. Given that this house is ruled by the moon, you may be very intuitive. You may be really great at connecting emotionally with other people. Human interaction may be very important to you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have a ton of relationships, but your human relationships will be very important to you. It's where you receive a lot of your nurturing, right, through stable interpersonal relationships. This could make you more of an introvert, since the fourth house really is a more introverted house. You may be more of an introvert with your house, with your sun in this house. Okay, but definitely an emphasis on roots and foundations, family, femininity. You could be a feminist. You could be an activist for feminine nature, and again, real estate agent or something having to do with the home. Sun in the fifth house. The fifth house is ruled by Leo and the planet Sun. we call them planets. The sun is not really a planet, it's a giant star, but in astrology we call it a planet. So fifth house is ruled by Leo and the sun. So with your sun in the natural house of the sun, this is a very strong placement. You have a very strong personality. You are very self-expressive, okay? The fifth house is all about drama, theater, the arts, self-expression, fun, creativity, play. It also rules children, okay? So with your sun in this house, you may be an artist or an actor. You may be a dramatist naturally. Whatever your career is may have a lot to do with simply expressing yourself. It is definitely another house of self-discovery, of vitality, of beauty, of color, of liveliness. Okay, you may be a teacher of children. Children may be a major part of your life purpose with your sun in this house. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, but those are all the elements of the fifth house. So self-expression. Sixth house, sun in the sixth house. The sixth house is traditionally ruled by Virgo and Mercury. Okay, so the sixth house is all about our daily routines. It is about our work structures, our habits. It is also the house that rules health, fitness, diet, all having to do with daily routines and how we take care of ourselves and the minute details of every day. It also rules service to others, because Virgo is the sign of service. So with your sun in the sixth house, you may be a nutritionist. You may be, let me get a drink of water, hold up. You may be very much interested in fitness and diet and nutrition. You may be very service oriented. You may spend a lot of your time really helping other people, creating work that somehow contributes to the greater good, serving other people. Because it is a house of service, you may be a nurse. You could be working in the service industry, hospitality, anything having to do with service to others, okay, is the sixth house. It also is the house that rules pets. So you could be a veterinarian, a vet technician. You may work with animals in some capacity. The sixth house, because it rules daily routines, pets are incorporated in that, okay? Seventh house, sun in the seventh house. The seventh house is ruled by Libra and the planet Venus. The seventh house is all about long-term partnerships. It's all about our close relationships with people that form a part of our innermost circle. Okay, this also has to do with business partnerships, political partnerships, any partnerships that we really base our life off of or form a part of our foundation is ruled by the seventh house. So with your sun in the seventh house, you may be very social. Your interpersonal relationships might be extremely important to you. You could be a mediator or a diplomat of some kind. You may be a marriage counselor or a family counselor, any kind of communication, because again, Libra as an air sign is all about communication and effective communication. So your life purpose has a lot to do with doing work in that field. Because it's the house of marriage and long-term partnerships, a major part of your focus in life could just be in your marriage. It might not be that you work on counseling or any kind of counseling field as a career. It could just be that a lot of your growth, your personal growth and time and energy go into your long-term partnership. That might be how you grow. But politicians can be seen with 7th house placements, as well as entrepreneurial abilities, collaborating, venture capitalists with, investing with other people in close connection through your business, through your political affiliations, through your long-term partnerships, and through your romantic partnerships. Okay. Sun in the 8th house. The 8th house is traditionally ruled by Scorpio and the planet Pluto, as well as Mars. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Pluto is the modern ruler. So the 8th house is all about merging and intimacy. It's similar to the 7th house in that it is also a house that we consider more romantic or more associated with our connections with other people. But in the 8th house, it goes even deeper. How we truly blend with other people, how we share our lives with other people, how we share space with others, how we understand the psychological and emotional needs of other people. So psychology is definitely an emphasis of the 8th house. It's also where we share our resources, joint finances, loans, student loans, debt, taxes, all having to do with money exchange with other people and resource exchange with other people. So you could be an accountant with your sun in the 8th house. You could be a venture capitalist. You could be an entrepreneur as well with this house. You could be into wealth management. Scorpios love money. They are another one of the signs that is all about financial stability, not just Capricorn, Taurus. We have Scorpio. These are the signs that are really great at managing money, and they care very much about monetary success. Okay. The 8th house also rules the occult, the mystical subjects. It is another psychic house in addition to the 4th house and the 12th house. It is the house that rules over death and grief, as well as pain and trauma, because Scorpios love to really get to the bottom of things and really understand the deeper, dark nature of humanity, of our psyche, of how we heal, how we process really difficult things. Okay, so the 8th house is really a mixed bag of a lot of things, right? So you might be a psychologist with your sun in this house. You may be very interested in the occult. You could be a psychic. You could do work in a more spiritual capacity. You could be a grief counselor. You could be a mortician, right? Dealing with the darker areas of life and needing to get to the bottom of things is something that's going to be a major focus of your life. Sun in the 9th house. The 9th house is traditionally ruled by Sagittarius and the planet Jupiter. So the 9th house is all about truth, about morality and ethics. It is the search for higher knowledge, spiritual wisdom. It rules religion. It rules universities, any kind of higher education. It also rules over astrology and dreams, as well as publishing and broadcasting. So in many ways, it is similar to the 3rd house, the 3rd house ruling the mind and communication, but the 9th house takes it even bigger, broader, more expansive, okay? The 9th house also rules travel and other cultures. So with your sun in the 9th house, you are probably a world traveler. You may pursue higher education. You may be a university professor. You could be a public speaker in the area of publishing, broadcasting, speaking on a stage, speaking in front of video cameras. You could be a spiritual teacher. Definitely a teacher of some kind, because Sagittarians are the teachers of the zodiac. So with your sun in the house of Sagittarius, definitely could make you a teacher. But you are a seeker of truth. You are here to really discover the deeper meaning of things, why we're here, how humans connect, what is the purpose of life. Similar to the 8th house, but you're more broad and expansive and optimistic. Okay, so travel writer, travel blogger, university teacher, spiritual teacher, definitely a seeker of higher knowledge, connecting with other cultures, accepting people of other cultures. Okay, so with the house, with your sun in the house ruled by Jupiter, this definitely gives you a very optimistic personality. Jupiter is very, very optimistic. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, of opportunities, of good luck. So you have a very warm, generous, optimistic nature about you. Okay, sun in the 10th house. The 10th house is traditionally ruled by Capricorn and the planet Saturn. So the 10th house is all about our public reputation, how we present ourselves to the world. It is the sense of responsibility. It is the career house of the zodiac, long-term career, long-term goals, wealth, status, okay? Because it is the highest point in the zodiac wheel. It represents the height of our personal image, public image, and reputation. So with your sun in the 10th house, you are very career driven. Your career is a major part of your life purpose. It could be that you are building your own career. You want to be the CEO or a leader or manager of your field. You could also just be a public, what is the word I'm looking for? Not socialite, but you could just by being yourself be in the public eye also, okay? So very, very career driven with your sun in the 10th house. Because your sun is in the house of Saturn, you may be a little bit more reserved. You may be a little bit more serious than other zodiac signs. Depends on the sign that is your ruler. So if you're a Leo, then naturally you might be more expressive. But having your sun in the 10th house could make you a little bit more reserved, a little bit more serious, responsible, driven, and highly motivated, okay? But your career is what really brings you the greatest fulfillment because it's in the house of Capricorn. Capricorns are all about self-mastery. They are the experts. They are the ones that want to get to the very, very top of whatever field they are in. So being the expert or the leader in your field will be very important to you, okay? As well as accumulating wealth and status for your own stability and enjoyment. Sun in the 11th house. The 11th house is naturally ruled by Aquarius and the planet Uranus. Okay, so the 11th house is all about our social groups, our friends, our community. It is the house of humanitarianism. It is the house of technology, of the future, our hopes and dreams for the future, as well as innovation. Uranus is the planet of change and innovation. It is the planet of technology, and Aquarius is very focused on bringing society into the future, about forward-thinking, progressive ideals. So with your sun in the 11th house, you might do a lot of work in your community. Being in the public eye may be important to you, doing work in social groups. Again, the 11th house also rules social media, technology, internet. So having a presence on social media platforms, communicating via social media platforms or the internet or technology may be very important to you. Because it is technology, you could be a graphic designer, you could be I'm trying to think of other like technology related jobs, engineering of some kind, technological engineering, web design, okay? You, again, being in the house of humanitarianism, you may be a political activist, someone that just is really pushing for human rights or for, moving society forward into the future. Again, because it's the house that rules hopes and dreams for the future, that is something that you are very focused on. You are progressive. You are thinking about where we are heading, not just where we are, where we have been. Okay, so careers that are related to that are going to be a major part of your life focus. The 12th house. The 12th house is ruled by Pisces and the planet Neptune. The 12th house is one of the other spiritual psychic houses. It rules spirituality. It is the direct link to the spirit realm. People that have their sun in the 12th house are natural healers, naturally intuitive. It is also the house that rules karma. It also rules the subconscious mind. It is another psychological house as well as the 8th house. It also rules institutions, hospitals, prisons, that kind of thing. So with your sun in the 12th house, this gives you a very natural, intuitive ability. You may be very in tune with other people, connecting with other people. You may be very sensitive to unseen things. You could be a natural musician, I see a lot of musicians and artists also with this placement. You could be a nurse, you could be a physician, you might work in hospitals or institutions of some kind, but definitely connecting with the collective, doing work that benefits the greater collective, because Pisces and Neptune are very much about human connection, highly empathetic and compassionate with your sun in this house. You care very much about how we are all relating to each other, the emotional health and well-being of the greater collective, and contributing to that in some way and expressing yourself in some way through that medium. Spirituality, psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, compassion, and psychology, as well as nurturing and healing. Did I say that already? Probably. Okay, so that's the sun in the houses. If you want to get a more clear idea of your life purpose, then I recommend checking out my other video where I talk about the sun and the signs, because astrology is really a lot about a fusion of energies. It's the energy of the natural rulers of the houses as well as the energy of the sun and the signs. So it's always a fusion and blending of energies. So to get a more accurate idea of what kind of career or life purpose you might have, take a look at my other video. I will put the link below to the sun in the signs. But again, if you want a real deep understanding of your life purpose, who you are, your personality, what drives you, what will fulfill you in career, in love, and in life, I highly recommend booking a reading with me, because you need to have an understanding of all the planets and the houses and the signs, as well as the aspects they make to each other. So for a full birth chart analysis, contact me. I will also post below my link to my services. And I hope this video was helpful to you all. Thanks for watching.